On today's episode of the Hotelier Huddle, I had the great joy of talking with Janet McBain, who founded Diamond McBain after 25 years in hotels and as a regional general manager in Australia and New Zealand. She spoke a lot about the management principles and skills from the hotel industry that translate into broader career paths. And I especially loved how Janet spoke on how hoteliers notoriously undervalue themselves and don't actually realize what brilliant rock stars they are. Have a listen. Janet McBain, thank you so much for joining me on the Hotelier Huddle today. I realize how wildly busy you are running your own little empire there in New Zealand. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
My pleasure. I'm so excited to see you.
I know. It's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've seen you.
Yeah, I think it's probably been about, 20, oh no, that long?
No.
Yes,
Couldn't be.
yes. I left Australia to come to New Zealand in 1999.
Wow.
But
Because
maybe
when you and I are
started
working together,
sometimes
you were
after
still
that.
Auckland based.
Maybe I would have seen you around 2011, 2012. That would be
okay.
the last time, I think. Yeah.
I don't know where it goes, Janet. I don't know where it goes. I always figure, especially during the pandemic era, I started to feel like time and vodka and caffeine just expire and evaporate at a rate that I cannot understand.
You got it.
Anyway, I digress. So, Janet McBain, I always like to, if you don't mind, I like to just run through, even though you already know it, a little bit about your experience and your career so far, just so that our audience knows just how wildly qualified you are to be in the huddle, if you don't mind.
In the huddle.
So, a little while ago, you got your BA, your Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from Dalhousie University. Am I pronouncing that right? Dalhousie?
No, Dalhousie.
Dalhousie, pardon me, in Nova Scotia in Canada. That's another thing you and I have in common is that we both came here from North America. I came for a temporary assignment that was supposed to be for 6 to 12 months, and that was 29 years ago. Did you come to Australia on a temporary assumption as well?
I certainly did. I came to Australia in the 80s, Shannon.
Yeah.
Just traveling. Traveling.
That's how it happens.
And in fact, on my travels was the first time I worked for Mirvac in 1986. But then I left and then went back to North America and then came back to Australia with my New Zealand husband. And so then,
that's how it happens.
That's how it happens.
Yep.
And so came back, immediately went back to Mirvac. It was very exciting. In fact, it was like going home.
Yeah.
And worked for Mirvac from 1987 till 2012, 25 years.
Wow, that's a good long time. And you were a regional general manager with hotels and resorts, right?
I was indeed. Yes.
Yeah.
So that was in New Zealand. When I first arrived back in Australia and started working with Mirvac, I was working at the Hyde Park Plaza, believe it or not. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, on College Street. I remember.
Yeah. And did a stint there, did a stint at the Siebel Townhouse, and actually went back to the Hyde Park Plaza as the general manager in, this is a memory game, isn't it? Went back to Hyde Park Plaza as the general manager in, 1990 something, maybe 1991. I mean, it was, long time ago.
Yeah, I never worked at the Siebel Townhouse myself. In fact, I don't think it had been demolished yet when I first started with Mirvac, but I've got the book about the Siebel Townhouse on my shelf. We could almost do a whole podcast. In fact, maybe I will, just about the Siebel Townhouse and the story and the era.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still a lot of people around that had amazing experiences there and that have gone on to have,
Yeah.
amazing careers. But wow, the
Yeah.
Siebel Townhouse. Anyway,
Yes.
that's another podcast. So
Yeah.
before I get ahead of myself, you actually earned your Master of Business Education at the University of Auckland. Hello, MBA. Very fancy. Very fancy.
Oh, MBA.
and then, and then after your hotels days, you started Diamond McBain Facilities Management, and you've been there for 13 years.
I have.
And I think that's kind of where I want to start because I'm curious,
Sure.
like after spending more than 2 decades in hotels and resorts, what was the, I don't know, light bulb moment that made you think, right, I'm going to go start my own facilities management company? Like, was that just pure moxie?
Yeah. Well, a little bit perhaps, but I guess it was just a number of things that all transpired at the same time.
Sure.
And one of them, I guess, after 25 years working with Mervac, I guess I probably started to get a little bit itchy about looking at doing something different. And I did go and do my MBA, and that was kind of then like think I'm really wanting to try my own thing. I never, years ago, I never would have thought I ever would have run my own business. It was just something that I didn't think was in my zone.
Sure.
But things change. And so I guess then it was a body corporate manager who I'd been working with for quite a long time, who was actually a body corporate manager at a couple of our strata properties in New Zealand, which were in my portfolio.
Key West properties, were they? Key West and Siebel?
Yeah. Siebel, yep. And he started talking to me about residential strata building management and how, it was so similar to what we do in hotels. And I actually started to ponder that and actually thought about all the reasons why I liked hotels, particularly, the strata gig, because I'd been doing that for quite a long time.
Yes.
And decided to give it a go. An opportunity came up in Auckland, which was quite a big opportunity. It allowed me to have a whole full-time employee as well as myself. And it was 4 buildings, and it's a very upmarket property, and it was almost like a hotel.
Yes.
Or hotels. Other than there were, permanent residents. And when I think about running Key West and Siebel, et cetera, there is such a big component.
Yes.
Actually, that ownership as well as hotel. And it was, I think, the adding value and working in partnership with people over a long period of time instead of just that in and out short-term stuff that you get with hotels. So I decided to give it a go. And actually pinched my regional engineer from Mervac. Oh, sorry.
An opportunity came up for growth and aspiration, and hey, that's how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. So he came along with me, and we started the business. He's still with me in the business.
Wow.
Pleased to say, as well as a number of other people who've joined along the way.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's I feel like it's a little Mervac, actually.
Yeah.
It's a diversified property company.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because whenever I talk with hotel revenue managers that have strata properties or apartment properties with individual owners, that really there's so many similarities. It's still, there's an element of hospitality. There has to be. There's plenty of, element of revenue and yield and profit management. There has to be.
Yep.
It's still complicated math, whether it's a dedicated income model or pooled inventory model, it's all complicated. And so there's enough elements and crossover where the disciplines are very similar, right? It's just a matter of, what you're good at and what you have an aptitude for.
Yeah, totally agree.
So when you launched Diamond McBain, I believe you said, if I've got this quote right, it was to bring a more professional approach to building management. And I'm curious,
Correct.
What specific practices were you seeing or maybe not seeing that made you want to shake things up?
Well, the first thing I would say is we are, talking about the New Zealand context, which
Sure.
is, in terms of residential strata, was not, it was fairly new in the 90s and into
Okay.
the 2000s.
Okay.
Australia has always been a little bit ahead in that game.
Yeah.
Just bigger and more.
Sure.
When Key West opened in New Zealand, it was literally almost one of the first inner city residential apartments, right?
Yeah.
So quite a new thing. In terms of then managing residential strata, it was still in the old sort of caretaker mode of, men walking around with a spanner.
Yeah.
Not, and it's so much more complex and
Yes.
sophisticated than that. So I think, when we first got into the business and in fact, this very amazing complex that we took over, there was no structure. There was no proactive maintenance. It was all just reactive. There was zero service. I mean, it was just, that was not part of the industry at that time.
Yeah. Just wasn't the mentality.
It just wasn't the mentality. So, coming in with our customer service mentality approach, still looking at, still really important, that physical asset, looking after that asset management, but actually really engaging with body corporate committees and owners. I think really took it into a different level for Auckland. And I think I understand that from other people. I feel this way, but I do understand from other people that we are regarded as the facilities management company who at the top end. So we're not the biggest, but we actually manage top end buildings, and we're regarded as the best operator in that niche.
Wow.
And I think that's all related to service.
Sure.
Really do. Yeah.
Because am I right that especially in buildings where it's a mixed use building where it's part residential, part hotel, and there might be units that come in and out of the pool, and that there's that piece that it's not just the profit management that's complex and the building, but it's even things like signage on the roof has to have a much wider conversation, and promotion of the restaurant in the lift that permanent residents might use, and all of those intricate complexities. There's just so much to consider, whether you're a revenue manager or a hotel manager. I mean, I'm just thinking, when a revenue manager that's thinking about TrevPAR and total revenue for the property, and they want to promote a dinner special on a poster in the lift, and the owners who are permanent residents, they don't want to look at that in the elevator going up and down every day. So that's some negotiations and love songs that have to go on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's about, in any of those mixed use buildings, and certainly, I had a lot of experience at that with movement.
Yes.
You have a whole variety of different stakeholders.
Sure.
And they all, it all has to come together to work. And all those stakeholders have different needs and different requirements. So it's actually the relationship management that is really key.
Yes.
If I think back to my Key West Sydney, sorry, days, 5 body corporates. And
gosh, willikers.
I'm not sure I was actually running a hotel. I think I was just managing, body corporate chairs where they didn't fight.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think it all comes to our success, certainly in this business, has been that we really value and work on those relationships. The tricky bit in when you're working with body corporates, though, is that the people change. They're
yes.
They come and go. So the primary thing that is important is maintaining those relationships and building new ones as you go.
Yes. And so, given your extensive background in hospitality, how do you think hotel management principles translate perhaps into a broader career path like the one you've taken?
I think that hoteliers, and especially hoteliers who work in perhaps small to medium hotels,
Yes.
have management competencies that could translate to just about anything they wish to do. I think sometimes hoteliers tend to undervalue those competencies. But
Gosh, I agree.
you know, you're faced with everything every day, and it's no different than running a multinational. I mean, it's
Sure.
those competencies, the leadership competencies, the business acumen. And to be honest, I think, going back to my MBA when I did that,
Because you're fancy.
because I'm fancy and I fancy pants. Didn't feel that fancy at the time, I can assure you. Um, but one of the things that was important at that time for me was that I'd, been working and doing lots of great things in hotels. But it was, did I really know what I was doing? Did I really have those competencies? And as it turned out, I did. Doing my MBA actually just was a bit of, it made it real.
Yeah.
And it provided a bit of, external validity to the fact that, yes, I did in fact know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether, because in hotels we're so, we have such a service mentality and we're so focused on our customers that we actually underrate all those skills.
That's so
and I would
interesting.
never, I think hotel managers are amazing, and they really, if there's a lesson, feel really proud of those skills.
Sure.
And you can do anything you like. You just need to put your mind to it.
Oh, I love that. And the way you describe it, with getting your MBA and having that external validity that, wait a minute, I had a brain all along. I liken it to the scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz. I mean, when you think about it, the scarecrow was the brains behind the operation the whole time. It was the scarecrow that figured out they shouldn't be running through the field of poppies. It was a scarecrow who navigated the way to Oz. And then at the end, the wizard gives him the certificate that says you have a brain, but he had the brain all along.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
It is the same thing. And but in your career, and I said to somebody once, my hotel career is working, having children, head down, working, having children. It's like you don't have time to actually think, oh, hang on. So it was an amazing experience, and it actually really reassured me. And what it did was kind of put a label to things in terms of, oh yes, that process that I've always thought is important is X, Y, Z.
Yes.
It's a great experience, and met some wonderful people who are still really important to me now. And, we do business together, and it's great.
A number of years ago, I did a project management little mini degree course at University of Sydney. And I was so pleased that there was no other hotel people or contact center people. There was no one from my universe in that course. There was an engineer, there was a banker, there was some other finance people. And I love that because I learned all of these disciplines, and I saw that people in all of these other universes were kind of learning the same thing as me. And there was a guy that was in charge of building a bridge in Hobart, and he was, a structural engineer, and he was in the same course as me. And I learned so much from him. And I mean, it just, to your point, it just validates perhaps knowledge that you already had.
Yeah.
And
project management is, that as a discipline is actually really important.
It's universal. Yes.
And I mean, in anything, right? It's one of those things. So
just one more thing on that, because I mean, you completed your MBA while working as a regional hotel general manager, which just sounds absolutely cray-cray. So what possessed you to take that on? And was there any, I don't know, particular module or insight from your studies that directly changed how you approached work at the time? Because, trying to complete an MBA while you're a regional GM running a bunch of hotels, I mean, concurrently doing those things, it's mad, but you did it. And it's just curious was there anything that directly impacted, if you can remember, how you approached your work at the time?
At the time,
Mm.
I mean, I can barely remember the time.
It's just a blur.
It's a blur. Well, I did the MBA course that I did at University of Auckland was a targeted specifically to executives.
Mm-hmm.
So how our face-to-face time was fortnightly, and it was pretty intensive in that we did every second week. We did 8 hours on Friday, starting at midday or something and going through to 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and then starting on Saturday at 9 and doing the same thing. So because we were all working out in industry,
Yes.
it enabled us to get all that face-to-face time that was required jammed into a couple of days. So, at the time, I remember, calling Andrew Turner, my boss, saying, "Listen, Andrew, this is what I want to do, but I need to have every second Friday afternoon off. Is that okay?"
And he would have been cool with that from memory of how Andrew, how he rolls.
He was cool with that.
Yeah.
It's not like I wasn't there all the time anyway.
Exactly.
So it was pretty intense. I don't know. There was one paper that I did that I guess maybe had a big impact on me, and it was, I don't know, maybe it was even, I don't know, operational management or strategy. I can't even remember what it was, but I actually did a paper about, I think Mirvac were probably being bought by Accor at the time.
Yeah. 2011, 2012 era.
Yeah. And for me, the decision to leave Mirvac was about that time, not because I didn't appreciate that Accor were a great company, and I think they are.
Sure.
But that it was taking me into a place that was, I'd done my hotel thing and I was wanting to do something different.
Sure.
But so my paper was essentially about, bigger is not always better. And so it really did. And I'm taking this into my business now, is that we're not just targeting growth. We actually want to target quality. And I think that's the Mirvac piece for me as well.
It's just hardwired in you.
Yeah. So I did a whole research piece around it, and, came out feeling really comfortable that growth is not everything, and that it's actually about, quality and value, and really working with people who you can partner with, grow your business that way in terms of just going after whatever you can.
Maybe growth is everything. It's just your definition of growth can be a very different thing. Maybe growth isn't the number of properties. Maybe growth isn't the number of rooms in management. Growth is measuring the profitability of your individual owners, or measuring joy in your customers through whatever metrics you use. But
no, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right, because I do need to grow the business to some extent to be able to keep up. But
the definition of growth,
you're right.
Yeah.
And so I think what I've, in my mind, my words for this year, and I always remember talking about this at Mirvac too, how you hold on to small company values when you're bigger.
Yes.
And my words for this year are that I want us to be small and beautiful.
Thinking about that, there's starting to be, and not on purpose, I haven't sought out these poli-sci degree people, but there's starting to be a trend where I've had more than one guest on my podcast comes from a political science background. So I wanted to ask you, it's quite a journey you've had, Janet McBain, from studying political science in Nova Scotia to managing hotels and buildings in Auckland. So how did that happen? And more specifically, I'm curious if your poli-sci background shapes your leadership style, or how you run a business today?
Oh. Um,
Because there's
well,
plenty of politics in building management, plenty
yes.
of politics in hotels. There's plenty of
Oh,
politics and plenty of science in hotels. Even in hotel revenue management, there's politics and there's science.
no, you're absolutely right. And it's, you know, I always think, why did I choose to do political science in the first place? But I would never, you know, I don't think any university degree is ever should be regretted, because you can always learn something from
Of
anything.
course, of course.
But I do think, and it is, as you say, there's a lot of politics, and it's actually, I think we're diplomats. We certainly
Yes.
were in hotels, and that, you know, is tenfold when you're dealing with body corporates. Just yesterday I had a quarterly meeting at a complex that we run with 11 different body corporates.
Wowzers.
And we all sit around the table, and 11 different body corporates have to agree on decisions. That is diplomacy.
Wow.
That
Wow.
takes diplomacy. Anyway, it's a long time ago that I did that political science degree.
Yes.
But
Well, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because when you think about trying to gain a consensus with, 11 different entities, the trouble with a consensus is that if if you include too many people and too many voices, you'll never get a consensus.
I
But if you
agree.
include enough voices and enough perspectives, then the decision won't get the buy-in and the agreement that you need. So it's that perfect amount of enough voices, but not too many voices to get a consensus and the buy-in.
Yeah. But I guess it all comes back down to that relationship management, that
Yes.
whole customer focus, and that, you know, I do think to some degree that people have it inherently. But you can learn strategies to also do it better as you go. But it's really critical, and it was really critical in hotels, and it continues to be. So, I know there's lots of technology changing the world, but relationships are still where it's at.
And human connections. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Mm.
I love that. So after watching and in fact leading the facilities management sector evolve, what's one thing that you wish building owners understood about the impact of quality management, perhaps, or perhaps specifically for the strata hotel operators out there that may be listening?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know that hotel strata companies, that just my opinion based on time.
Mhm.
Hotel strata companies are, of course, business entities looking to generate revenue from hotel sales.
Yes.
But their actual the reason, or what enables them to do that, is the ownership base. And I think that hotel strata companies don't value those partnerships as they should be.
Mm.
It Again, keep using this relationship word, but you have to work at that relationship with
Yes.
your ownership. And if you do, it will enable you to do better business. But I think that unfortunately some hotel companies disregard that.
Yes.
And they shouldn't. And it is quite different than having one institutional owner. It is individuals, and you need to find a way to be able to engage with them appropriately, because they can help you, and it can work. But you can't disregard them.
No, and in fact, it's tricky, isn't it? Because each owner has a different set of requirements, a different level of interest, a different way that they want the story told, and I'm going to plug one of my own training modules now because you just reminded me of it. Last year, I launched this no storytelling, as in KNOW, no storytelling training session, because I had clients and one of my business partners that came to me saying, I got 10 revenue managers and they're sending these monthly reports to the owners, and it's like all these acronyms, and they paste these spreadsheets into an email. The owners don't want to see that. They just want to, but some owners do.
Yes,
some owners actually want all the gory detail, and they want to know how the sausage is made. But some owners just want to know, where are the gaps? Where's my profit? What is sales going to do for me this quarter, whatever. If they're in capital raising mode and they're going to the bank to get some more money, then the way you tailor the story in their monthly report might be a bit different this time. Yeah. So, I mean, that's hard enough when you have one owner of the building and you start to know what that owner likes to see in a monthly report and the triggers that are important, or the things that will resonate with that owner, whether it's profit or sales or marketing or whatever. But when you've got 11 and you have to tailor the story and how you manage the info, the data, the graphs, the story, that storytelling that you give to your individual owners in that relationship, that's tricky stuff. It's not insurmountable, but it's tricky stuff.
It is tricky. It is tricky, and it requires time. And I think that the struggle is that people think, well, I can't do that. It's too much time. I can't. But you have to see your way through that and put some resource behind it, because if you do, it will, it will pay dividends. But you really need to work at those relationships. And I think that's the advice. You just need to work at those relationships.
Hear, hear. I love that, Janet McBain. You could not be more right. So in closing, okay, we close every Hotelier Huddle podcast episode with this same question, which is a final toast. So if you're raising a glass, although it's still a bit early in Auckland, but I suppose it's cocktail hour somewhere. So if you're raising a glass to celebrate hoteliers everywhere, what would your toast be?
You know what? I think I would go back to part of the conversation we had earlier about, hoteliers in general just are always pushing out for other people, their staff, their customers, and they forget sometimes about how amazing they are. So I just think that we should toast to all, particularly hotel general managers, I will say. Don't underrate yourself. A toast to your amazingness, and that go out into the world and do whatever it is you want to do.
Hear, hear. I love it. Yeah. Thank you so much, Janet McBain. I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for joining the Hotelier Huddle today.
It was lovely to see you, Shannon Knapp. And when I next come to Sydney, we must get together.
See, now it's on record. Now you've said it, and now it's on record.